Welcome to All Grown Up Now, Tales of a Checkered Past. I'm Kenneth D. King, podcasting from my studio near Union Square in New York City. This podcast is an evolution of the tale, All Grown Up Now, A Friendship in 3 Acts. This is Season 2, and it's called Tales of a Checkered Past. It's a collection of short stories from my salad days on up to the present. In each podcast, another self-contained story will be presented. These podcasts will be broadcast bi-weekly, so you get 2 a month. Enjoy. This installment of Tales of a Checkered Past is called First Crush. Everyone remembers their first crush. Most people know what it is when it's happening, but for me, it was something I realized in retrospect. Not all bad came from Mom's misbegotten liaison with Gary, the used car salesman who dated her and then bilked her out of our college education fund. Gary had a large family, some of whom became Mom's friends, or at least friends until everything blew up. One of Gary's sisters was named Kay. Kay lived in Clinton, Oklahoma. She had blue-black dyed hair and looked like Joanne Worley of the TV show Laugh-In, with the thick false eyelashes, light pink pearlescent lipstick, and blue eyeshadow not worn ironically. Kay also had a succession of ex-husbands, a fondness for large gold hoop earrings, and a job as a cashier at the local Safeway. If you were to call Central Casting to cast the tough broad with a heart of gold, you would get Kay. Kay had an only son, and his name was Terry. We kids had never met Terry until one day when Miss Ann came home from work with an odd request for Kathy and me. Kay's son Terry was in a real bad motorcycle accident, she said. He's at the hospital here because the surgeries they had to perform were too advanced for the rinky-dink small-town hospital in Clinton. He doesn't know anyone here, so I think it would be a nice thing if you two would go visit him and keep him company. Kathy and I weren't real enthusiastic about this. A redneck from Clinton, Oklahoma that we didn't know or have anything in common with? I mean, really? We were city kids. What could we possibly talk about? Tractor pulls? Guns? But we did it because Miss Ann was still in love with Gary. This was before the money went. And if we didn't, there was sure to be a screeching fit that would jam the radar at the local airport. So, the next evening, we went up to the hospital, found Terry's room, and knocked on the door. We didn't hear anything, so we quietly opened it and found him in a lip lock with a girl, presumably a girlfriend. We knocked again, and they abruptly stopped and guiltily straightened themselves up. Now, I was smitten. This was a corn-fed, weightlifting, strawberry blonde country boy with blue eyes and a dimple in his chin. Yes, he had 2 broken legs and 1 broken arm, but damn, he was cute. And immobile. The rapidly deflating tent in the sheets also caught my attention. Now, if this had been a few years later, knowing a thing or two, I would have looked upon the situation as one rife with possibilities. As it was, though, I was so repressed that I didn't even admit to myself that I was smitten. Kathy and I managed to get through with some small talk and stayed just the polite length of time so we could say we did our duty and left. I couldn't sleep that night. Now, since Terry was really alone in the hospital, Kay had to work and couldn't make the trip very often, and since he was practically a cousin, as Mom and Gary were shacking up and therefore sort of married, I volunteered to visit him daily. It was summer, school was out, and I had a flexible work schedule so I could visit daily so as to ease Kay's mind and so she didn't have to worry, you know. Really, no trouble at all. I so looked forward to those daily visits. Terry and I would talk about not much of anything, just passing the time, but it gave me the opportunity to look at him a lot. After leaving, I always would feel an ache that I couldn't define and impatience for the next day so I could go back and visit again. This went on for weeks. Terry was a badly injured boy, and boy, I was glad of it. The day before he was released from the hospital, I brought him a St. Christopher's medal and explained that St. Christopher was the patron saint of travelers and he should wear it whenever he got back on the motorcycle. He seemed touched by the gift. After Terry went home, there was a big hole in my day, and I missed him terribly. I couldn't talk about it because I suspected that if I did, I would be called queer and harassed even more than I already was. I didn't hear from him because he was back in his life with all his friends, and I was just this guy who would visit him in the hospital because his mom asked me to. But I ached, and I couldn't express why. A month or so later, Kay asked me to come visit and stay overnight. I could hardly contain my excitement. I would get to see Terry again, and see him I did. Straight boys, when they aren't clued in, can be very exhibitionistic. Terry did a lot of weightlifting in gym shorts as best he could manage in twin leg casts, and sitting around in his underwear, boxers my favorites because of the tantalizing glimpses one gets. I, of course, being the shy type, kept fully clothed at all times. He still couldn't walk without crutches, so Kay let me drive him around in her car, a Chrysler Cordoba with the Corinthian leather interior, just like Ricardo Montalban said in the TV commercials. We cruised the main drag in Clinton, Oklahoma repeatedly, and Terry introduced me to all his friends as his friend Ken from the big city. When I think back, it seemed a bit like he was showing me off. Or I would like to imagine that he was. At one point, during one of these drives, he looked at me and said, "You know, you look really cool driving this car. You're really classy." That was music to my ears. But events took their turns, and Mom was soon embroiled in the unpleasantness at the end of her time with Gary. Sister Kay screwed Mom as well by borrowing money for new clothes so she could land a better job and then not paying up. True to form, Miss Ann expected all of us to shift into blind hatred, so all of this conspired to keep me from meeting up with Terry again. I felt a void, but knew that life goes on. But it didn't really occur to me until I came out much later that this was my first real crush. I wish I had known then, because I might have done things a little differently. Or not. But I would have paid a lot more attention to my feelings and allowed myself the emotions and experiences that youth is entitled to. Thanks for listening. You can get the audiobook All Grown Up Now on iTunes, Audible, and Amazon, or from my website, allgrownupnow.com. You can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, and Google Play. If you have any questions, you can reach me through the website, allgrownupnow.com. You can follow me on Instagram at Kenneth D. King, on Facebook at Kenneth D. King Design, or on my main website, kennethdking.com.